it's a 389 glider. It's a 2020, one of the last gliders that Peterbilt made. And I originally was going to convert, I always wanted to do a pretty in-depth project, and I was going to roll it back to a 359. But after laying awake in bed one night thinking, you know, that's going to be a lot of work. There were so many 379 features on a 389. I thought, well, let's try this instead. A lot of people in the past have tried to take, you know, a 389 or 379, roll it back to a 359. You just can't get everything right. So I figured, let's do this. Nobody else that I know of has really rolled to a 379. So that's what we did.
Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the Flannel Channel. This is Mid-America Trucking Show 2023, and I am thrilled today because I get a chance to speak with Conrad Shada. And he just got done having, I would say, maybe the experience of a lifetime.
It really has been. It has been. It's just been unbelievable, and I'm still on cloud 9 trying to collect all my thoughts here.
So cool. And so this is going to be one of those episodes that you're not going to want to miss, because there's going to be some secrets about this truck that I don't know anything about, and I guarantee there's some things that you don't know about this truck. And so let's find out together. It's going to be a great episode. Stick around. This is one of those features that I've been excited to do for a while, because I got a chance to write about your truck a little bit, and I've only known it through photos and through maybe the spec sheet.
Now you might not know, but I actually write for LargeCar Magazine, and we did the cover feature on Conrad's truck in March, April 2023.
So to get a chance to not only meet you, but to hear a little bit more backstory about the truck, being here at the show, I'm thrilled. So
it's a pleasure to visit with you, and the article that you wrote about the truck in LargeCar Magazine was just absolutely phenomenal. So this is my pleasure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
I can go on for hours about this thing. After
Very
3.5 years, there's a lot of ground to cover.
Awesome. There's something about that era of truck that resonates with so many people.
To me, it was Peterbilt's best era, that 20-year run of the 379, especially from 87 to 2000, the 3-panel dash, the Uni-Bilt, I'm a Caterpillar guy. I've got a truck with a Cummins in it at home, wonderful engine, but I've always been brought up around cats. Was such a great era, and I wanted to take bits and pieces out of that 20-year run and put together what I thought was a perfect Peterbilt. Now, not to everybody, but to me, I thought we got pretty close.
Bingo. Well said. And I think the fact that you built this truck for yourself.
Yes.
Kind of expand on that a little bit. What your vision was and why you went the direction that you did.
I've got a 2014 at home that's got this same paint scheme. I've just always been fascinated with the old school paint schemes. When I grew up, I was so fortunate to be brought up around my grandfather and father. We were in the cattle business, sale barn business, lots going on in that era. It was the best era for dealing with, in our business, for dealing with people. The trucks were amazing. The truckers were mentors to me. This takes me back to that era because it was the best growing up that a young man could ever have.
Wow, that's fantastic. Man, what a legacy that you grew up
with. It is, and I am so lucky and blessed. I can't even explain how lucky and blessed I am. Great parents, a grandfather that did everything for me, and a great wife with an extended family that has put up with a large amount of headaches over the last 3.5 years. It came in, and it was violet effect cab and sleeper and hood. The fenders were painted gold, and the roof cap was painted gold. Because the original intent was, well, we'd tape the gold off and start adding the black to it. But I think at the end, the whole truck got repainted anyhow. Okay. So, but that was the original goal. We got the truck home, had a black frame, took it and stripped everything off. One thing I don't care for with a Peterbilt is their frame paint. We always sandblast and restart over, prime and base coat, clear coat the frame. and that was the first building block. So it was
Gotcha.
the first key was to get the frame painted.
Get everything down
everything
to...
off, and then why, you know, pretty much you're starting with a blank slate. You could caulk bolts. You know, since it was a kit, we had to make drive shafts, get the cross members placed, and 99% of this was done in-house. There were some parts that were fabricated off-site, but for the most part, I put the truck together. I had some great help and some help that wasn't so great. And the proudest thing I am about this truck is we did it all in our shop. And that's the cool part. It was definitely built and not bought.
Man, well said. That's incredible. The fact that you took your time with every single detail to make it.
Yeah, I mean, it got so over the top, but when you're into it, it's where do you stop? And if you're at a point where it's like, well, do you do this or not? Well, you better do it and get it out of the way. And like I said, people have asked, well, how many hours do you think you have in it? I don't know. I figure 4 years. If you figured 20 hours a week, you do the math. I mean, you're probably close to 5,000 hours in it, but it was well worth it. It was never a thought of not doing it. I loved every minute of it, loved working on the truck. I love fabrication. I had some great mentors teach me a tremendous amount over the years. It was just some of the people you had to deal with to get things done. You kind of have to take inventory, and sometimes you have to start over and clean house, and that's just what we had to do. But we're just so fortunate that we got it to the top. That was the goal, and we're just very blessed.
Wow, well done. And it looks to me like you came home with some awards today.
Yeah, and you know, we were gunning for best of show bobtail. That was the real prize. But this, I believe it's the National Association of Show Trucks Best Bobtail Award. That blindsided us, and I don't even know what to say. I'm still trying to figure it all out. I've been, you know, people have come up to me, congratulated me. It's such a neat feeling when people want you to win and do good instead of fighting against you.
That's fantastic.
And I really admire that. There's been so many kind people this last week when we've been down here. Like I said, it's been a wonderful experience. A lot of hard work, but a wonderful experience.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that. You know, the trucking community, it
really is. It really is. And, you know, I knew I had something different or was doing something different. I just didn't know that it would gather as much chatter and steam as what it did.
Yeah. Well, you're doing something really fantastic that maybe hasn't been taken to this level yet.
Well, and that's right. You know, when we start walking around the truck, you know, I've had people argue with me, well, that's a nice 379. No, it is not. It is a 389. And the two things that will give it the giveaway, it still has the crooked hood seam, and the width of the grill at the top is still a 389, and the hood tops are a 389. We had to have somewhat of a base to start with there. And I wanted to make it where I could go back and say, no, this is why it still is a 389.
Yep, well said. Because, yeah, you're going to have some naysayers. You're going to have some people that say, well, you just put a 389 hood on a 379.
Yeah, you know, somebody once said, you know, it's easy to put a set of headlights on. It's a little different when you put hood sides and fenders on.
And you went dash?
Oh, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what
found a new old stock 3-panel, like I said, my favorite dash. I mean, I know a lot of people are on the Corvette dash, you know, of the 359s, but my pride and joy was the old 3-panel dash. I'll open the door, let you take a look.
Let's take a peek, yeah. This is one of the thrills for me, is to have the man that not only owns the truck but built the truck, did everything himself. He can point out details in here.
Yeah, so what we did is we found a new old stock 379 dash from Wilkins Truck Parts in Oklahoma, and I basically rewired the whole truck, converted everything over to toggle switches, tried to get it as close as we could. Like I said, everything was so detail oriented to get it to look as close as I could to a 379.
That's phenomenal.
The interior was done by a fellow by the name of Jordan Bernacki in Amana, Iowa. This was the first semi-tractor he ever did, and his talents were amazing. We modeled this after the old first class interior, the predecessor to American class. Not a lot of people remember that, but when they were really touting the 377 back in the early 90s, that interior, you could also get it in a 379, but that was the first step in getting to where American class was. But I wanted to keep it that late 80s look, and maybe I mentioned it before, but the truck was modeled after, if you could go to a Peterbilt dealership in 1987, this would be the Denali or the limited or platinum edition of that. That's what we tried to do.
And I love that you had that specific intention in mind. It wasn't just scattershot.
Yeah, and there was so much planning and stuff, but I just had an idea how I wanted to do it. Now, things had changed during the build, but you know, we did add a few little twists to it to modernize it a little bit, but just to give it a little modern character. We did put emblems on the inside of the hood, so our theme has always been whatever we did on one side, we tried to do on the inside. Wow. And had the whole inside of the hood striped, painted the bug screen purple, and then we move on to this. It's 2WS Caterpillar. I've always been a Caterpillar fan. It broke my heart when they quit making engines. But now we have the luxury of going back in time and getting what I think was the best. 2WS 550 with a little bit more, if you know what I mean, and painted it white. I just thought the white was so old school and it would really complement the chrome. All stainless braided lines, all the fluid lines are braided, all the air lines are still plastic with all polished brass fittings. All the standoffs I made with cut some stainless steel strips. Would take a washer and a grinder and round off the edges. Tried to caulk all the bolts on the engine. I mean, I never want to speak out of turn, but there's stuff on here I don't even remember what we did because there was such a long list. But it was always important to me to get all those little details in. I wanted to put air tanks underneath, you know, off the frame, because that was kind of a late 350, through the whole 359 era, early 379. But I wanted to make it where the straps faced out. Everything on this truck that's a round object has got two stainless straps to it. So instead of just hanging brackets off the side and having the straps go to the inside, I mounted those on the bottom of the toolbox that I fabricated, and that way everything is facing out. Added the light bar, the stainless light bar. That's always been kind of a trademark of what I've done on my other trucks, so I could tie that all together. All the lights are on 16 and 3/4 inch centers. I know everybody wants to know that. And had a mentor years ago teach me a lot of fab work, built my own in-frame toolbox since we haul cattle, keep my coveralls and stuff in there, and we wanted to carry the theme of the center section of the hood all the way throughout the back of the truck. Full fenders. I'm not a big reverse T-bar fan. I like the tall light bar, and came up with the plan to tie the fenders and fender brackets into the light bar. I chopped the end of the frame off and made it my own cross member and had it polished, so that way it kind of tied in the front to the back. That's kind of the goal here. What you see on the front or the back or on the top or the bottom is the same. You can see in this mirror we even striped the bottom of the deck plate.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's just, there's just so much detail. Chrome the U-bolts, chrome the dust shields. We even painted a gold stripe on the inside of the fender lip on this to match the front fender, because it's painted on the inside. It just, like I said, the list goes on, and since it took 3.5 years to do it, I can't even remember all the stuff that we did. The toolbox and step boxes, they are original. It came with the truck, but I cut the new style step out and put the old 80s style grate in. Put the air dryer on this side. There's a lubrifiner on the other side, and that is now the windshield washer reservoir, because that lubrifiner was such a neat touch, but they were really kind of a pain, leaked oil, but just one more little detail to go back to that era.
That's really clever. I didn't realize that the lubrifiner was your windshield washer.
Yeah, that took a little bit of thinking. You know, we reskinned the doors, 379 door latches, moved the power windows and locks onto the dash. It still has remote keyless entry. Like I said, there's just so many little things that were done. It's so hard to remember all of them. That custom built for is a replication of that era of what they would have had for a custom built plate.
Is chrome?
Yep, chrome Jake stands.
Yep.
Add the cold side of the turbo polished. Like I said, the stainless braided lines, to me, that was a lot of work, but it just sets it off. I mean, I know this may come out wrong, but this truck was built right. There's no scotch locks, there's no butt connectors. It's all done with original factory components.
So what we decided to do is, because the weather here in Kentucky doesn't want to cooperate with us today, I thought, you know what, let's find a quiet spot somewhere indoors and out of the wind, and we can just talk a little bit more about the truck.
That is his first wife.
Yeah, I guess, but my better half here deserves all the credit in the world, because for the last 3.5, I guess you could say 4 years, I haven't been around much.
We're just proud of him. I mean, it was a lot.
It was terrible.
He was, you know, basically from the moment I got pregnant with Dawson to now, he has been busy. So that's a lot to miss out on, a lot of milestones that he missed, you know, first walks, first words. But at the end, Dawson doesn't remember that, but Dawson remembers this. So I think that's the most important part. He can be proud of his daddy, and all the kids are proud of him. So at the end, it's all worth it.
She has 3 children from a previous marriage that I love as my own, and they have all taken the brunt of this. But, you know, when you talk about things, you know, like the song Wind Beneath My Wings, my wife has definitely been the wind beneath my wings. She let me have the sunshine while she stayed in the shadows.
Building a truck, that's in addition to what it, you know, what's involved in running the business and running the house.
My dad has 3 feed yards that I exclusively haul all of his cattle. We work together. There's no better product to haul than your own. And I have great people to work with that. My mom and dad have been so supportive. My grandfather's been gone for 20 years. He really set me up, and if it wasn't for him, he's the one that started everything and did so much for me. But mom and dad and my extended family on Sheri's side, they've all been wonderful. It does take it's a team effort to do something like this, and it's hard. It's hard when you get home from trucking, and instead of going home and spending time with your family, you start turning wrenches on the truck. But at the end of the day, it had to get done. And I am so, I don't know how you would say it, obsessive compulsive, that I was one that wanted to do it and had to do it. But I just owe a lot to my family. They never, ever gave up on me. And when things, it was never that things were down or I couldn't get it done. It was just people that I had to deal with, and they were always there saying, we're going to be okay, you just keep working with it. And that's what it's all about. It's a beautiful piece of equipment, but at the end of the day, it's a piece of equipment. The family is what's the most important, and they stood behind it.
Even if he didn't win, it would have been worth it because he accomplished it. You know, he built it, he did it, he finished it. So even if he didn't win, we were still so proud of him regardless.
So it's time to kind of start now. We can enjoy the moment and still enjoy the truck, but it's time to shift gears a little bit to enjoying the family and trying to make up a little bit of lost time. Never be able to make it up fully, but the next chapter is there's a few shows we want to still take it to. I will use the truck on a limited basis. I've got a 2014 that we're going to keep and do a little work to it to kind of still go through the winter months and everything. I still have my 87 Peterbilt cab over. My dad always gives me a lot of grief. He says, here at Shada Trucking, we have 3 tractors and 1 driver. Boy, we're really smart. But, you know, you got to kind of have a collection. But, no, like I said, this was the goal and the pinnacle to get it at. And we're just so blessed that we made it. But there's some other things besides trucks that are kind of important to go and do now. You know, somebody asked me, they said, well, what would you sell it for? No, that truck will live with us forever because there were so many hard moments, and it's just my son someday, I don't care what he does, but hopefully he doesn't drive and he can just roll these trucks out on carpet and say, well, that's what my dad used to do, and I'm glad I didn't follow his footsteps. I can go and tell stories about the plate behind, underneath the foot pedals I made out of stainless steel, and I think it was 17 tries before I got it right. And I mean, it was like Einstein with the light bulb to get it cut, to get just everything perfect, because it was just such a one-off deal. But that, like I said, there is a part of me in that truck, and it just can't go. I had a dream to build what I thought was the perfect Peterbilt. Now, it may not be to other people, but it is to me. And I had people say that it couldn't be done, that was stupid, this is ridiculous. My words of advice is, if you dream it, you do it, and you let the haters get out of the way. Don't ever let somebody crush your dreams. You just move forward.
I'm sure there's some other people that you want to thank that helped you help this all happen.
John and Larry Snigowski were in the whole process. They were always kind of rooting in my corner, and there's a long history with them. I can go on and on. Brian Kelchin from Dyersville, Iowa, taught me so much about fabrication over the years. Priceless knowledge. This fellow by the name of Don Bechtold in Massillon, Iowa. We had this 87 Peterbilt cab over that we redid about 10, 12 years ago. And he should have been a teacher at a diesel school. He was so kind, and he really gave me the basics to, learn how to do this. And he said, just jump in, Conrad. If you make a mistake, we'll get you out of it. I've got a steel supplier in Cedar Rapids, Storm Steel, this Kelly Bankin, and he would have to shear and cut the same parts over and over for me, but he never said, well, what are you doing? It's like, whatever you need. Just people were so helpful. Easy Sheet Metal in Dubuque, Iowa did a lot of the custom stuff for me. It was never a question of, we won't do it, we'll figure it out. And the presentation is a big deal at Louisville. It's not just about the truck, it's about everything else, the whole component. A big shout out to Wilson Trailer Company. lifelong customers of Wilson Trailer. We're one trailer operation. They have treated me like gold. Nick Weaver, Randy Newhart, Tim Kosmicki, Branson Jurgensen, they made the display sign for me, the mock-up nose of the trailer, the miniature nose, and we did the rest of the fab work on it, but they were so willing and helpful to do it. Wonderful company, class act, just can't say enough positive things.
Awesome. That's so cool. Did you guys do all the detailing yourselves?
Yes,
Okay.
pretty much. I had a friend of mine that hooked me up with another couple people to kind of get us over the hump.
Okay.
But really for the most part, Sheri and I did pretty much all of it.
Wow.
You know, another group that was really helpful, First Class Services gave me a lot of advice on how, what to do and what not to do. Eternally grateful for them. And Steve Ford and Michelle at LargeCar, that was such a career highlight to get on the cover of LargeCar Magazine. We'll use the truck limited times in the summer, good weather. It will have very good care, but I want to use it a little bit. You know, you build this stuff, you got to have a little enjoyment on it.
Yeah, that's really cool.